hell is that? Oh, we got a live one here.
"1996 had a strange place in movie history. It was a year defined by scale, large budgets, louder marketing, and movies designed to play as events. That approach worked for some releases, but it also left little room for films that didn't fit the moment. Some movies from that year arrived with modest expectations or unclear identities. Others were released in crowded schedules where attention was already spoken for. In many cases, the issue wasn't quality as much as it was timing, positioning, or tone. What followed wasn't disappearance, but delay. These are the 1996 movies that struggled to find footing at release, yet remained present long enough to be remembered. Celtic Pride arrived as a sports comedy built around magnified fan loyalty. The premise drew attention, but the execution did not connect with ticket buyers.
What'd you do that for?
I am sick and tired of your bullshit.
What the hell has gotten into you? Huh? Oh no.
You really shouldn't leave Jimmy all alone, Mike.
Reviews were mixed, and the film underperformed during its release. In later years, repeated cable airings kept it in circulation. Viewers encountering it outside theaters tend to focus on its simple setup and broad humor.
So, Dad, what do you think prison will be like?
Tell me.
The papers.
It never gained critical standing, but it remained recognizable as a mid-90s comedy tied to its moment.
Gentlemen, I'm Bob Cousy here at Lepresky Park with the skyline of Boston, Massachusetts in behind me. Here at this 4 a.m. demand grudge match, a David and Goliath contest.
Big Bully paired comedy with darker themes of past trauma and unresolved grudges.
Sheesh.
That combination made it difficult to market, and the film struggled to attract attention.
Where are you going, Davey?
It's David.
Well, where are you going, Davey?
I said it's David, and I'm not a little kid anymore.
Really? Well, then how come you act like one?
I am not acting.
Am so?
I am not.
Am so?
Am not.
Am so? Whoever acts silly gets away with it. Here I come!
Box office returns were low, and it quickly faded from the big screen. In time, it gained some notice through blockbuster rentals.
You gotta speak up, buddy. I can't hear you.
I would like to apologize.
You would like to apologize?
The focus shifted from its commercial failure to its unusual tone and performances. While it never became widely discussed, it avoided total obscurity and remained a point of curiosity for viewers revisiting 1990s comedies. Unforgettable attempted to blend crime investigation with science fiction concepts involving memory transfer. The idea was ambitious, but the film failed to stand out during a crowded release period. Financial performance was weak, and reviews were largely dismissive. Soon after, the movie was reframed as an early example of interest in memory, identity, and experimental technology. While it never achieved strong recognition, it continued to surface on cable and video shelves, maintaining a small but steady presence. Kingpin struggled on release, despite recognizable leads. The film received negative reviews and performed poorly in theaters. Its crude humor and offbeat tone did not align with expectations at the time. Its reputation changed later.
Took the liberty of milking your cow for you. Yeah, it took a little while to get her warmed up. She sure is a stubborn one. Then, pow, all at once.
We don't have a cow. We have a bull.
I'll brush my teeth.
Home video exposure introduced it to a wider group of viewers who focused less on its reception and more on its characters and structure. It became one of the most revisited comedies of the year.
English Bulldog, 1 testicle, $500. Wow, for that kind of money, you think you'd get 2 testicles. I mean, I can figure some things out for myself.
Bye, Brother Munson. Bye, whore.
The Frighteners combined supernatural elements with dark comedy and suspense. Despite its technical achievements, it failed to meet box office expectations.
I mean, there's got to be some kind of rational explanation for all this.
Ray, we have got a poltergeist!
Well, it's nothing that the police can't handle.
And struggled to find a clear audience during its release. It gradually became recognized for its place between horror and fantasy during the decade.
We would like to cruise with some style, man.
You know, you guys left me high and dry tonight. I get to the house, nothing's happening. Couldn't believe it. Hey, Stuart, in or out, huh?
Bottle Rocket had a limited release and performed poorly. Its small scale and quiet pacing prevented it from gaining attention during its initial run. Its reputation grew later as viewers revisited it through home media. The film became more notable as the careers of its creators developed. While it was not seen at first, it became an example of how early work can gain relevance long after release.
Beautiful, intelligent girl from Paraguay. By chance happens to be working at a motel in the middle of nowhere. And it's perfect. I mean, it is perfect.
Perfecto.
Barb Wire received heavy criticism and failed to generate strong box office returns. The film's dystopian setting and stylized presentation did not translate into widespread interest. Despite that, it continued to be replayed through late-night television. Eventually, it became associated with 1990s action aesthetics and remained part of discussions about movie experimentation during the period.
Don't give me that surprised look. Like you don't know what I'm talking about. You came here to talk about the contact lenses, didn't you?
I'm in a position to broker their sale.
That's what I heard. Don't you just love it when a plan comes together?
Mars Attacks struggled to connect with audiences expecting a traditional science fiction invasion story. Its satire tone and weird shifts confused viewers, and the film underperformed. Later reassessment focused on its deliberate style and ensemble cast. Through repeated airings and rediscovery, it became more closely associated with parody rather than failure. Its place in the decade became clearer with distance from its release. These were the 1996 movies that struggled on release but weren't erased from memory.
You're a cashier, I'm a thief, honey. That's the way it's always gonna be, okay?
I mean, all you ever do is you go to Breen's and you get drunk with Tommy O'Shanahan and you guys gamble. I mean, that is all you do.
They linger through repetition, and while they didn't shape the year's reputation, they remain part of its landscape. They weren't the films most people mentioned first.
What did you say, sailor? You can't say that! He can't say that!
Pascal, down, heel.
They were the ones that kept reappearing, and in many cases, that persistence mattered more than initial performance.